Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a very nice tutorial for you. I'm going to be making that gorgeous necklace that you saw in the introduction, and I'm going to be using the beads that came in GGC's treasure bag for the month of January. Now before I go any further, I'm going to tell you right up front, this is going to be a little bit fiddly, okay? So if you don't like fiddly tutorials, then this is not the video for you, okay? We're going to be doing some wire work, and it's going to be a little bit on the intricate side, and it's going to be a little bit frustrating for some of you, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with wire work. Now, if you're advanced, you may have your own ideas about how to make this necklace and about the technique that I'm going to be using, and that's okay. I'm just going to be showing you my method, and maybe you'll learn something and maybe not. It's okay either way. One of my goals here on YouTube is to try to please you and bring you content that you enjoy. I know it's impossible to please everybody, but I can certainly try. So anyway, guys, I'm going to be showing you how to make that gorgeous necklace. And if you don't have the beads, don't worry. I will list all of the materials down below in the description section of the video. I'll list the sizes, the colors, the shapes, and everything. The other thing that I like to do is to include timestamps down in the description section as well. So if you want to skip forward to any portion of the video, you can do so. And I know I ask you every single time, but if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so because it really does help my channel and it helps me to stay motivated to create more content for you. So anyway, guys, I've been wanting to make this necklace for a long time. And when I received the bag and saw the chandelier component that came in that bag, I knew I had to make this beautiful necklace. Plus, GGC's treasure bag had all kinds of beautiful beads and they were all the correct size for this necklace. So I got to work right away in putting this tutorial together so that I could show you how to make it. Now, unfortunately, this treasure bag is currently sold out. The name of it was Shiny New Year. But if you're interested in future releases, I recommend that you go to the website and sign up for notifications so the next time that Gina releases a bag, you won't miss out. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy it. And please leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. All right, so here's the bag. As you can see, it's very, very full. So instead of pulling out each individual bag, what I'll do is pull out the strands that I think we'll be using today. And it could change because today's project is going to be kind of freeform, okay? So let me go ahead and pull out the strands. Okay, so I've pulled out some strands that we're going to be working with to form the focal part of the necklace. And here's the focal piece, okay? This is the beautiful chandelier focal component that came in the bag. It measures 69 by 25 millimeters, and it's in an antique silver tone, as you can see. And as you can see, it's pretty simple, but it has a whole bunch of loops, which I really want for today's project. So anyway, this is what inspired the necklace. So let me put this off to the side and I'll go over the beads. These are the beads that I'm going to be using on that chandelier component. Once we finish the focal piece, we'll add some drops to it, so we'll need some different beads for that. Plus, we're also going to build some beaded components for the strands. But let's focus on the chandelier component first. These are the beads we're going to be using, okay? And let me just go over them really quickly. This one here is a rainbow plated black bead, and the facets are pentagon shaped, as you can see, okay? The beads are 5 by 5 by 5 millimeters in dimension, all right? Now these here are smaller, these are 4 millimeters in size, and as you can see, they're smooth rounds and they have a gorgeous AB finish on them. These also have an AB finish and they're the same size, but they're a black bead, as you can see, okay? And then we have these are faceted rounds and they're 4 millimeters in size. And then these are oval shaped beads. They have a beautiful AB finish on them and they're faceted, as you can see. Okay, so for those of you who don't have the bag, I will list all of the beads down in the description section of the video. So if you need to go out and do a Google search and look for them on your own, you can do so. Now to attach the beads to this focal, we're going to use some wire, and we're going to use 26 gauge wire, okay? And we're going to do a technique that involves attaching the beads by doing like a twisting technique, and I'll show you that in a few moments. I'm going to go ahead and remove some of these beads from the strands and create some piles. I was trying to remove the beads from these two strands and I realized there are two kinds of oval beads here. There's a faceted kind and a smooth kind. We're going to actually use both, okay? So let me go ahead and make two little piles for these two. Okay, I'm back. I've created 6 different piles, as you can see. Each one has a different kind of bead. And I didn't put out a lot of beads just yet because I don't want my beads flying around. Whenever I work with wire, my beads always start rolling around. But I may need some more than this. I don't know yet. But anyway, we're going to start by cutting ourselves a very long piece of wire, okay? It's going to be very long, guys, all right? I'm going to cut myself a piece that's 60 inches long. And the reason we need that much is because we're going to be doing some twisting, okay? And then once we get done with that, we're going to be wrapping it around this component, okay? So essentially, we're going to be beading about 8 inches worth of beads, and trust me, 60 inches will give you just enough to do that, plus a little extra on the ends to do some final wrapping. Okay, so let me go ahead and measure 60 inches. Now, if you don't have one of these, I strongly recommend that you get one. This is a nylon coated plier, and I'm simply going to use it to take out the kinks, okay, because that does happen from time to time. So I'm just running it through the entire length. All right, so here's my long piece of wire, and it's going to be a little tricky at first, guys, okay, because it's super long. So you may see me go in and out of frame a little bit in the beginning because the wire is so long, but I'll do the best I can to show you exactly what I'm doing. So the first thing we're going to do is thread on a bead, okay, and I'm going to thread on one of these 5mm beads right here. And you're going to bring that bead all the way down to the middle of your wire, okay? So what you want to do is find your two ends, okay, and then go ahead and find the middle of your wire. Bring that bead down to the very middle of it. And now we're going to center the bead in the middle between those two wires like this, okay? Now to get started with the twisting, what you're going to do here is you're going to cross one wire over the other one like this. You want to hold the two pieces separated with your left hand or your non-dominant hand, okay? And then with your dominant hand, you're going to go ahead and twist the bead like this, and you're going to do about 5 to 6 wraps, something like that, okay? I'm going to call this the stem because that's what it looks like. It looks like a little stem, okay? And as you can see, the wraps are very uniform and they're snug up against each other. That's what you want. You don't want the wraps to be uneven. You want them to be evenly spaced out and up against each other like this. So now that we have the first bead, now we're going to thread on the second bead. And I think this time I'm going to thread on one of these oval beads. Okay, and I'm going to bring it down. So here it is right next to the little stem that I created, okay? Now if you notice, because of the shape of this bead, it's very wide. So I'm going to need a little bit of space here to create the wraps, okay? So I'm going to move it away about 1/2 inch. So I have about 1/2 inch between the wraps here on this one and the end of this bead. And now you're going to wrap it around the base like this, and take the other end and wrap it around the base as well. So you have something like this, okay? As you can see, the bead is centered between these two pieces of wire. Hold on to the two pieces with your left hand or your non-dominant hand, and then with your dominant hand, you're going to go ahead and create your wraps. And you're going to keep wrapping until you get to where the other wraps are from the other bead. Okay, just like this. So this is what you should have, okay? Pretty simple, not complicated at all. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a third one. Normally what I do is I work in pairs. So I'll twist 2 beads and then move it down a section, twist another 2 beads and move down a section. But because this is the middle, I'm going to create 3 stems so that I have it as a guide to remind me that it's the middle of the wire, okay? Because once we start to wrap, we're going to actually start from the middle of the component out, all right? So you need to know where the middle is. So now we're going to move on to the next section, and I'm going to work with this piece here, and then we'll work with the other piece later on. I'm going to thread on another bead, and I think I'm going to thread on another one of these 5mm beads like this. And now I'm going to bring it down. So here it is now, okay? And once again, I'm going to bend my wire around the bottom of that bead, taking into account the size of the bead, okay? So I'm moving it away from these 2 stems about 1/2 inch or so. Take it and wrap it around the base like this. So you have something that looks like this. Hold on to the 2 pieces of wire with your left hand, and then go ahead and create your wraps all the way down till you get to where the other 2 wraps are, or the other 2 stems. So this is what you should have, okay? So now that we've done the 3 stems in the middle, we're going to move on to the next section. And this time I'm going to pick up a set of beads. So I'm going to pick up 3 of these 4mm beads, If I can just get it. Okay, here we go. There they are. Let me move them down. All the way down. Okay. Now these beads are going to be twisted away from this set. So I'm going to move them away about an inch, I would say. Okay. And once again, take your wire, bend it, keeping the 3 beads together like this. Cross one wire over the other one like this, the best way you can, like this, and then go ahead and do your twisting. Like this. Let me show you what we have so far. Okay. It's not perfect, but I think you get the idea. Okay. So now let's do another bead. I think this time I'm going to use one of these faceted oval shaped beads. Thread it on, slide it down to where the other beads are. And this next stem is going to be right up against this one, okay? So once again, you need to take into account the width of your bead. Leave yourself enough room so that when you wrap it around the base like this, you have enough room to create that stem. Okay? Can you guys see that? Go ahead and do your twisting. And there's the next stem, okay, right up against this one. And that's basically how I'm going to finish the rest of the wire, okay? I'm going to work in sets of 2 like this. You don't have to, guys. You can do single beads. You can do triples like this one. You can do more than that if you want to. Let me go ahead and thread another bead on. I think I'm going to thread one of these oval beads on. And once again, you want to bring it down to where your work is, okay? Move it away from this set, and I'm going to move it away a little bit more than an inch this time because the bead is pretty wide. Okay, so once you have the desired distance, go ahead and wrap your wire around the base of your bead. It's a little tricky when they're not round, but you want something like this, okay? And then go ahead and start twisting. Make your stem as long as you want, okay? So now let's pick up another bead. I think I'll do a set this time. I'm going to do 3 of these black ones. All right, I'm going to slide them down to where my work is. I'm going to leave myself a little room to do the wrapping to the left of the set, okay? Once again, you're going to bend your wire around the beads like this. Cross the wire, one in front of the other one, like this. And go ahead and do your twisting. And by the way, guys, be careful with the twisting. If you twist too much, you could snap the wire, okay? So you need to be careful with that. But there you go. As you can see, I've attached the 3 now. So let's move on to the next section. I think I'll do another one of these faceted ovals. Slide it down. Move it away about an inch or so. Wrap it around the base of the bead, or wrap the wire, I should say, around the base of the bead. Like this. And go ahead and do your twist. So there's that one. And now I'm going to do a triple, and I'm going to use 3 of these smooth rounds with the AB finish. These are so pretty. I love these. Let me move them down to where my work is. Just like that. Move them away about 1/4 of an inch or so. Bend the wire around and then cross it. Like that, okay? And then go ahead and twist them on. Like this. Let me just show you what we have so far. Okay, as you can see, it looks like a vine. I love that. Let me go ahead and do one more. This time I'll do a 5mm faceted bead. Slide it down to where the work is. Move it away about an inch from this set. Wrap the wire around the base of the bead. Like this. Twist it. Like this. Let me do one more. I'll do a smooth oval. Bringing it down to where the work is. Like this. Leave myself about ½ an inch this time because it's a pretty wide bead. And then wrap it around the base. And this time I'm going to do a very short stem. Okay, I'm only going to do a couple of wraps. Like this. So you can have some that have long stems and some that have short stems. Okay, you want that. You want it to look organic. Okay. You don't want them all the same. You want all of them different. So anyway, guys, that's how you do it. And I'm going to continue until I get to the end. Okay. I'm going to leave myself about 5 inches at the end. Okay. But basically, when you get to the end, you should have about 4 inches worth of beaded wire. Okay. And then I'm going to come back to the middle section here where the 3 beads are, or the 3 stems. And I'm going to do another section to the left. So by the time I get done with the entire thing, I'll have 8 inches worth. But let me go ahead and finish this section first, okay? I'm going to speed up the film and then I'll meet you back before I go to this side, all right? Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've twisted all of these beads on and I have about 4 inches worth. Let me show you. It may be a little bit more, maybe 4¼ inches, okay? And I have about 4½ inches worth of a tail, and that's what you want. You want between 4 and 5 inches, okay? So now I'm going to work on the other side, and it's the same thing, guys, okay? You're going to twist your beads on with 2 to 3 stems on each section. It's completely up to you. I like to do 2, but you can certainly do more, like I said before. And you want your beads to be varied, okay? You want some with 3 and some with 1. But again, it's up to you, all right? This is where you get to be creative. So let me go ahead and flip my wire around because I work better on this side, and I'm going to continue this way until I get to the very end. So let me go ahead and speed up the film again. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've completed the entire piece of wire. And let me just measure it. I should have about 8 inches, maybe a little bit more. And it looks like I have about 8 3/4, which is good. You want anywhere between 8 and 9 inches for this component, okay? It all depends on your component, okay? It all depends on what component you're using. I'm just showing you based on the measurements of this one. Now the measurement of this one is actually 69 millimeters from this loop to this loop, but if you were to measure the entire curve, it's about 3 inches, and that's about 76 millimeters, okay, for those of you who use metric. So if your component is different, you may need a different length, okay? You're going to have to experiment and figure it out. But anyway, like I said before, for that particular component, you need a length that's between 8 and 9 inches long, okay? And that's what we have here. So now we're going to wrap it around the component. So let me find my center point, and I think it's this one here where the 3 stems are. So I'm going to take the center point of my beaded section, okay? And I'm going to find the center of this component. Now if you'll notice, there's no space in the middle, okay, because there's a loop in the way. That's okay, I don't really care. As long as I start somewhere in the middle, that's all that matters, okay? So I'm going to take the section that has 3 stems and I'm going to place it somewhere in the middle, like this. And I'm simply going to wrap it around between each of the loops, okay? And sometimes you may need to wrap more than once around each space. It all depends on how your beads are distributed, okay? So you need to look at that as you wrap to make sure that your beads are distributed evenly. And the nice thing about this technique is that you can manipulate the wire if you need to, okay? Or the stems, and you can even unwind it and start again if you have to, okay? So don't stress too much about this part, okay? Just simply wrap it around the best way you can, and you're going to go to this side of the loop now, okay, and continue to wrap until you get to the end. And I'm going to stop right there, okay? I'm not going to finish wrapping just yet. I'm going to go to this side now. And now I'm going to wrap this side of the wire. So once again, go around the best way you can, distributing your beads as evenly as you can. And then finish off at the end like this. Now before we finish these two ends, we're going to move the beads around, move the wraps around so that the whole thing looks even. And like I said before, these can be very easily manipulated. So I'm pretty satisfied with how this looks. And here's the other side. It looks pretty nice on this side as well. There's really no front or back, okay? I didn't really want that. I wanted this necklace to be worn either way. So once you have everything arranged the way you want it, you can go ahead and finish the ends, and that's very easy. What we're going to do here is take the end and wrap it around a couple of times really snugly around the end. Okay, like this. And then I'm going to come back till I get to this stem here, which is the one that's closest, and then I'm going to take my wire and wrap it around the stem a couple of times. I'm not doing anything fancy, guys, okay? I'm just going to wrap it around the stem a couple of times like this to secure it. Snip off the excess, leaving myself about 3/8 of an inch. And now with some round nose pliers, I'm going to take the end and I'm going to coil it towards where the beads are. And then tuck it in there really good, okay? So it's out of the way. I found that to be the best way to finish this off. That way you don't have to worry about any ends sticking out or poking you. Same thing on this side. Take the end, wrap it around a couple of times, go back towards where the stems are, find the nearest stem, which is this one here, and then wrap it around that stem the best way you can a couple of times. Okay, I'm going to cut off a little bit of this excess wire, take my round nose pliers, grab the end, coil it, and just tuck it into where the stem is. And that's basically it. Okay, isn't that pretty? I love it. It's so beautiful. So if you're going to try this, guys, because it's 26 gauge wire, you do need to be careful because it will snap if you twist it too much, okay? So you need to be really careful when you're doing your twists. So now that we've finished the focal portion of the necklace, we're going to create some dangles. And I'm going to be using some of the beads that I used in the piece, okay? The 5mm faceted bead, the oval bead, faceted and smooth. Basically, you're going to use all of the 6 beads that we used in the creation of this piece, okay? And I don't know how many I'm going to use just yet because I'm going to play around with these until I get the right combination. I'm going to use some of these beads as well. These are teardrop shaped beads. As you can see, they're faceted and they're in the same color, but they are a little bit bigger. And I want to put these at the bottom of the strands or the dangles. So let me go ahead and pull some off and just put them at the bottom. Let me put some more of these tiny beads in the mix. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is play around with these bead combinations, and I'm going to speed up the film so I don't bore you to death while I arrange everything, and I'll meet you back. Alright, so here's an example of what I have in mind, okay? As you can see, it's all very random, but it is graduated, so I have the long ones in the middle and the shorter ones to the side. And this is just the beginning, guys, okay? This is a process that I'm going to have to go through on my own to figure out exactly what I need. I'm going to probably rearrange these a little bit more, but let me just show you how to do one of them, okay? I'll be using some head pins for the bottom beads, and for the rest of the beads, I'll be using 22 gauge wire, okay? And to connect the dangles, I'm going to use some 4mm jump rings. So let's go ahead and cut some wire. I'm going to cut myself 1.5 inch pieces, okay, because these beads are small. But if you're a beginner, you may need more than that. Okay, it depends on the bead. And I'm cutting 1.5 inch pieces because I'm going to be doing some wrapping, okay? I'm going to do some wrap loops. I'm going to probably need more than this, but I just want to get started. So let me show you how to do the bottom drops or the bottom beads. The bottom beads are going to have a head pin like this. And now you're simply going to grab the wire at the top of the bead like this, kink it like this, switch your pliers around to this portion of the wire, take the tail, wrap it around the nose of your pliers like this, flip your pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this, remove your pliers, and now I'm going to grab the loop with another set of pliers like this, and with another set of pliers I'm going to take the tail and wrap it around a couple of times like this. Remove your pliers, snip off the excess, and then tuck the tail in. You want to make sure you don't have anything sticking out, okay? And this is what you should have. Pretty simple. And now for the next bead, I think I'll use one of these barrel beads, this one right here. So for that one, I'm going to use some 22 gauge wire. Grab the wire about 1/3 of the way down, kink it, reposition your pliers to this part of the wire, the short end, wrap the tail around the nose like this, flip your pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this. And before you do your wraps, what you want to do is connect it to the drop, the teardrop. Like this. Okay, now I'm going to grab the loop, and by the way, I like to use these are crimping pliers, but I like to use the tip because it's very thin and I can grab tiny loops like this. Take the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck in the little tail or the little end, and now we're going to thread the bead on like this, and once again we're going to grab the wire at the top of the bead like this, kink it, switch, wrap it around the nose of your pliers, flip your pliers around, Continue to wrap to the back like this. Remove your pliers, grab the loop, grab the tail with another set and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess. Tuck the little end in. And this is what we have so far. Okay, very simple. I'm going to attach one more bead at the top. And I think I'm going to attach one of these AB ones, the smooth round. So once again, get a piece of wire. Grab it a third of the way down, kink it, switch to this portion of the wire, wrap it around the nose, flip your pliers around and continue to wrap to the back, like this. Take your component, slip the closed loop into the open loop that you just made, like this. Grab the loop, do a couple of wraps, snip off the excess. Tuck in the little end. Thread a bead on. Like this. Once again, we're going to grab the wire at the top of the bead, kink it, switch to this portion of the wire, wrap it around the nose like this, flip your pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this, grab the loop and grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck the little tail in if you see one, and this is what we have so far. Pretty simple, okay? Now if you're picky about how the loops face, okay, and whether or not they're facing the same direction, all of them, I'm not going to worry about that with this project because it's so random, it really doesn't matter, okay? But you certainly can straighten your loops out if you want to, all right? So it's going to hang like this, and I'm going to use some jump rings to connect it to the loops, okay? And this is going to be the longest one. The other ones are going to be shorter. But before we connect it, I'm going to go ahead and build my other strands or my other dangles, and I'm going to speed up the film so this video doesn't end up being too long, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I've built my dangles and I have a total of 13 because we have 13 loops on this component. Now I don't know if this is going to be too much, but I think it's going to look really nice once we get done. As you can see, they graduated in size. I have just single beads at the ends because I didn't want anything long hanging from the ends. So now all we have to do is connect them with the jump rings. And let's take a look at the loops. You might need to separate your twisted beads away from the loop so you can get to them, okay? That's very easy to do, but be careful because this is 26 gauge wire, and if you pull too much, it might break the wire, okay? You just want to move them just enough so you can have access to those loops. So let's go ahead and grab a jump ring, and let's go ahead and open it up. These are 4mm jump rings. I'm going to start with the center dangle, connect it like this. Find the center loop, which I think is this one here. Let me just make sure. I just counted the loops, and that is the center loop. I think I'm going to switch to a different kind of pliers. I'm going to use this kind. This is a stepped flat nose plier, which allows me to get into very tight spaces. And let me go ahead and close that jump ring really well. That's the most important thing about this project. You want to make sure your jump rings are closed as best as you possibly can, okay? So there's no chance of the dangle falling off. And that looks pretty good. Let's take a look. I really like that. Of course, I will have to move the beads back to their original position once I get done hanging these dangles. Let's go ahead and hang this one now. Let's go ahead and open up this jump ring, hook it onto this dangle like this, and I'm going to hook it onto the next loop, which is this one right here. Sometimes it's easier if you put your work on your mat. And let me close it up. So this is what we have so far. Let's open up another jump ring. Take this component now, hook it on, and now I'm going to go to this side, hook it onto the next loop, like this, close it up, okay, so far so good. Moving right along, let's grab another jump ring, open it up, take the next component, hook it on, and go to the next loop, which is this one, I believe, and close it up. Let's take another look, make sure we're connecting everything properly. That looks pretty good. And now I'm going to go to this side. So I'm going to grab another jump ring, open it up, hook it onto your next component. Let me see where the next loop is. I believe it's this one here. Close up my jump ring. And let's take a look. That looks pretty nice. I really like that. So anyway, I'm going to continue to connect the rest of these until I finish connecting all of them. I'm going to speed up the film and I'll be right back. By the way, guys, these are by Beadsmith. If you're interested, I got these on Amazon, okay? And these are Xuron pliers. I got these on Amazon as well. And these are by Lindstrom. These are one of my favorite flat nose pliers. I've had these for years. As you can see, they're pretty worn. I'm probably going to have to get some new ones pretty soon. And these cutters are by Lindstrom as well, okay? And these are quite old as well, but I tell you what, they've really held up, and I've cut all kinds of things with these. All right, let me keep going. Okay, I've connected all of them, as you can see, and how pretty is that? Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my gosh, this looks so pretty, guys. I love it. I did move my beads back, okay? That's one of the nice things about this technique. But like I said, you do have to be careful that you don't stretch the wire too much, okay? Because it will break. I can't stress that enough. So anyway, that's the finished focal. and it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So now all we have to do is finish the strands and then we're done. So for the strands, I want to keep it simple. Since this is so ornate, I don't want to do anything too heavy on the strands. I'm simply going to connect these beads onto some chain and then connect it to the loops, and that's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything too fancy because this is so ornate. I don't want to take away from the focal, okay? And these are the teardrop shaped faceted beads. They have an AB finish, very pretty. And since they're clear, they should work really well with this design. And for the chain, I want to use something a little bit smaller than what came in the GGC's treasure bag, okay? These links are a little bit smaller. I like the chain that came with the bag, but it's a little bit too big for this design. I want this to be a little bit more on the delicate side, okay? And I'm going to cut off pieces that are about 1.5 inches, something like that, okay? But let's go ahead and wrap one of these beads. Again, I'm going to use 22 gauge wire. So this time I'm going to cut myself a piece that's about 1.75 inches long because I'm going to make slightly bigger loops, okay? They're going to be wrap loops. Maybe 2 inches if you're a beginner. This looks more like 2 inches. So if you're a beginner, I definitely recommend 2 inches. I'm going to grab the wire a little bit more than 1/3 of the way down, kink it, switch to this part of my pliers now because I'm going to make a bigger loop. Wrap it around the barrel like this. Flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this. And now I'm going to slip it into this loop here. Let me go ahead and open it first so it's easier. And now let's go ahead and slide it in like this. And now I'm going to grab it with my skinny pliers like this. Do a couple of wraps. Let me snip off the excess. And now let me tuck in the little end. Now I'm going to slide the bead on with the fat end of the bead facing the component like this. Okay. Grab the wire at the top of the bead, kink it. I'm going to make another big loop here. Well, not big, it's actually medium. And I'm not going to close it, okay? I'm going to keep it open because I'm going to attach the chain to that. So let me go ahead and do the other side now. Once again, you want to get a piece of wire that's long enough, okay? You want the wire to be long enough so you're not struggling, okay? And I can't emphasize that enough if you're a beginner. So once again, I'm going to kink the wire, switch to the middle part of my pliers because I want a medium-sized loop. Wrap it around, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back like this. I'm going to open it up a little bit so that it's easier to hook onto the loop of the component like this. Grab the loop, and do a couple of wraps. It's a little tricky with the beads in the way, but I'll get it. Snip off the excess, tuck in the little end, take a bead now, slide it onto my wire like this, grab the wire at the top of the bead, and now I'm going to wrap the end around the nose of my pliers like this, flip my pliers around and continue to wrap to the back, and I'm going to leave it open. I'm not going to do wraps because I want to attach the chain like I said before. So that's what we have so far. And now I'm going to go ahead and snip off a piece that's about 1.5 inches. Let's see what 1.5 inches looks like. I think I'm going to make mine a little bit less than 1.5 inches. Maybe I'll make it 1 3/8 inches. Let me go ahead and insert a head pin onto this link here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece. And these links are not welded, so I can actually open them up. So let me go ahead and see if I can open it up. And now instead of counting my links, what I like to do is just insert my head pin through the link of the chain, the main piece of chain, and just eyeball it and see where I need to separate the next one. Okay, that way I don't have to drive myself crazy trying to count the links. And it looks like I'm going to separate this one here. So let me grab this link and let me go ahead and separate it. Now if you want to count links, guys, by all means do so, okay? You can certainly count them if it makes you feel better. As you can see, I've cut 6 pieces of chain, and I don't know if I'm going to need any more than that. I have to figure out once I start connecting everything. So let's go ahead and connect the first piece of chain on this side, okay? And we have the loop already, okay, as you can see. Let me go ahead and open it just a little bit. Take the chain, slide the link into this loop here, like this, okay? And just like before, I'm going to grab the loop with some skinny pliers, like this. And now with another set of pliers, I'm going to do a couple of wraps. And now I'll snip off the excess, tuck it in. So now we have that piece of chain connected, as you can see. As you can see, I've already formed a loop for the next beaded component. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to this end of the chain, like this. Grab the loop with a set of skinny pliers and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck the little end in, thread the next bead on, like this. Grab the wire at the top of the bead, kink it, and form another loop. And once again, you're going to leave it open. You're not going to finish it with wraps. And that looks pretty nice. I like that. So now let me go ahead and connect the next piece of chain, like this. Grab the loop and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck in the little end, and let's see what we have so far. That looks pretty nice. I like that. Let me go ahead and measure it before we go any further. It measures about 6 inches from this link to the middle, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and connect this next bead, okay? I don't want this necklace to be really long. This one's going to be no more than 18 inches, I think. So I'm going to form a loop just like I've been doing, okay, like this. And now hook it onto the last link of the chain, like this. Grab the loop, do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess, tuck in the little end, and let me thread the next bead on. Like that. Grab the wire at the top of the bead like we've been doing, kink it, form a loop, and now let's connect the next piece of chain. Like this. Grab the loop. And now I'm going to do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess, tuck it in, and this is what we have so far. I like it. Before I go any further, I'm going to take this to the mirror, hold it up to my chest, and see if I need to add any more chain or beads, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've decided I'm going to add one more beaded component to the end, and then the clasp, and that'll be long enough for me. Now for you it may be different, okay? You may need to add more. It all depends on how long you want your necklace. Let me just measure it. It measures about 7.5 inches right now, okay? So by the time I add that beaded component, it'll be about 8 inches on this side, maybe a little bit longer with the jump rings and the clasp. So the overall length will be about 16 inches, maybe 17, which is perfect for me because it'll sit right at my collarbone, okay? Now for you it may be different, all right? So you have to decide how long you want yours to be. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and attach another beaded component to the end of this chain, and then I'll finish this side and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've finished both strands as you can see, and now all we have to do is connect the clasp, and I'll be using a simple lobster claw clasp. And I do want to use a couple of the jump rings that came in the GGC treasure bag. I think they're really good quality. So let's go ahead and grab one, and it's already open as you can see, and we're going to connect it to this side. Connect the lobster claw clasp like this. And now we'll close it up really well. And I believe these jump rings are 6mm jump rings. But what I like about these is that they're very thick. I believe they're 18 gauge, so that means they're very secure. Let's go ahead and connect this one on this side. Close it up. So anyway guys, I know this necklace was a little bit fiddly to make because of the twisting of the wire, but the finished result is absolutely stunning. I love it. I think it's a gorgeous statement necklace, perfect for a wedding, a gala event, a night out, and I like that this is very organic looking with all the different beads and everything. So anyway, I hope you can make your own. Just be careful with the wire. Like I said before, it's 26 gauge, so when you do the wrapping, you do need to be gentle with it, okay? But once you position it in place, it's good to go. And since we have the ends tucked in really well, it's pretty secure. But anyway, like always, I like to model my necklaces. So let me go ahead and put this one on and show you what it looks like. Well, I'm all dressed up and ready to go out for a Valentine's dinner, and I'm going to be wearing this gorgeous necklace, and I think it looks really nice with this outfit. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you make your own necklace. I love using this technique. You can use any gauge wire. You don't have to use 26 gauge wire, but you do have to make sure that you have the correct beads, okay? So if your beads are a little bit on the delicate side, you can't use heavier gauges. Also, keep in mind that the twisting of the wire is a little bit difficult on the fingers, okay? So if you have problems with your joints, you will definitely need to use a thinner gauge. Okay, everybody, well, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.